one's called New Year's Day, and it's a bit of a step down from Eater, but has some interesting parts to it. Just gets a little too ambitious for the budget. I mean, look at this tagline. A young woman awakens in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombies. Oh man, there's going to be so much action. There's going to be so many special effects. People's heads are going to be exploding. It's going to be like freaking Day of the Dead all over again. But actually, this one is a lot more slower paced than this tagline would lead you to believe. The episode kind of starts and stops. It'll go slow, then it'll move fast for a second, then it'll kind of go slower again. It's trying to kind of be everything. It does this thing where it'll show her waking up from this haze in her apartment after what we think is a night of partying on New Year's Day, and she feels sick. And then it'll flash back to the day before where she went to the New Year's Day party. And actually those flashback scenes are quite good. It also uses mid-2000s blur effects, which just don't really look that good right now, because they shake the camera like crazy. They're trying to do some Cloverfield type action, and it just makes everything really blurry, so you just really can't see what's going on. And it's supposed to make it exciting. It just doesn't really quite work with some of the action scenes they try to pull off here. The main character's name is Helen. It's played by Brianna Evengan. I definitely pronounced that right. Brianna Evengan, who right before this starred in the Step Up 2 movie. So she was a dancer, still is a dancer, and can really cut a rug. However, it seems like after that movie, she basically just starred in a lot of horror movies, and this is kind of one of her first forays into this, and she does a decent job. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bossman, who, despite having a badass last name, is, I'd say, a mid-level director. He did have some success, though. He directed the Saw movies. Not like the first Saw movie, not the really good one. Saw 2, 3, and 4. So he definitely made a lot of money, but wow. That brings back flashbacks to Saw 2. I was so disappointed when I saw that movie for the first time. I love the first Saw. It was so tense. And I'm an idiot, so of course I didn't see the twist coming. But Saw 2, they just turned into a slasher. And I kind of checked out after that. But in his directing here is maybe a little below average. They use a lot of mid-2000s kind of special fade effects to show that she's like shaking and moving around. And it just doesn't look very good for today's amazing technology. Even back then, it looked kind of corny. It seems like the director and Emilia became really good friends on set because he starred her in his other movies, Devil's Carnival and Mother's Day. If you want to watch this episode, you can actually watch it on YouTube legally. They have it under the YouTube Movies and TV. They have the entire series that you can just stream for free. Well, they play ads. But it's an easy way to watch the series if you want to keep it on platform and not get arrested. So they switch back and forth between the zombie apocalypse and then the time before the zombie apocalypse, where it's kind of talking about how she went to this party. The backstory is the part you don't want to see, because typically that's the way it goes. Something like Lord of the Rings 2 Towers. They're doing the siege on the fortress in Helm's Deep. That's awesome. That's cool. Then it cuts to like two large trees walking around the woods being boring. You're like, I don't want to see that. Go back to the attack on Helm's Deep. Go back to the attack on the fortress. Well, it's the opposite here. I actually like the backstory of this episode more than I like these zombie parts, since it really is her just walking around. She walks around her apartment, sort of gets attacked. Somehow she's able to outrun these super fast zombies. Another problem with them being super fast, she's just walking around with a flashlight. I don't know how she keeps getting away from them. Somehow she does. She leaves her apartment. She goes in the hallways. She takes an elevator. She goes down to the garage. It's all unfolding really slowly, and once again, not really building any tension. They just kind of appear, shake their heads around. But there is actually a pretty decent story if you dig a little bit. Every time I Google this episode, I keep running across this emo band. They named their band New Year's Day, which I can't tell if that's a genius choice or stupid. Seems like you'd be buried in searches and promotion. Hey, see New Year's Day live? You're like, oh, it's not New Year's Day. Or maybe it's genius. Maybe they're hoping people look it up and run into their band like I did. I'm going to start a band called Amazon.
I should let this go, but I need to hear you say it, love. Principle.
We get a flashback to the New Year's Day party that they've been referencing this entire episode about halfway through. And we see that her friend Eddie is friend-zoned. He's attracted to her. I mean, why wouldn't he be? But really, Helen has her eyes on a guy named James, who for some reason, inexplicably, is not that attracted to her. This guy's wild.
I love you. I know, I said it, it's out there. I love you. Chances.
And then we flash back and see that actually her boyfriend, well, who she thought was her boyfriend, has actually been cheating on her with her best friend. And so far, they haven't developed like a super deep plot or anything, but I do find the flashback sequences pretty enjoyable, and they're well acted, and the directing's not crazy. And then we learn at the end that, I don't know how this makes any sense, she was a zombie all along. Maybe she has the ability to just act like a normal chick, and then also go into zombie mode, because all the other zombies are bumbling around, can't talk, moving their heads back and forth, you know, not really carrying on coherent conversations. But somehow she, an undead zombie, is able to carry on coherent conversations and kind of forget she's a zombie sometimes. I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense, but I don't hate it either. It seemed like they were going to go for something like that because there really isn't much else that happens. She's just kind of running around. So they kind of felt like they had to throw in a plot point. Overall, I think I'm going to give New Year's Day a solid 5. It is an average episode. I don't think there's really any episode of Fear Itself that's bad. This really is a solid series, but this one's going to get a 5. I'm going to rank these all at the end, and this will be probably towards the back. But the actress does a decent job. This is actually a really hard role for her to play. She has to go through every single emotion. I mean, she's yelling, she's throwing things, she's fighting people, then she's also acting like a normal girl, then she's being moody. This episode was cast by David Rappaport, who McGarris worked with Masters of Horror, of course. He tends to use the same team. But he also cast pretty much every teen show in the last 20 years. He did Gossip Girl. Let's praise him for that. Putting Blake Lively on the map. Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That has that chick from Firefly. Cast 11 episodes of Fear Itself. Also did the reboot of 90210. And recently, Pretty Little Liars. And Riverdale. So we can see him and McGarris have teamed up together to make sure that the cast is very appealing to the viewer. They know what the people want, and they give them exactly what they want. TV shows are a visual medium, and they know exactly what they're doing. So let's give it up for David Rappaport. This guy's a true hero. Next up is Episode 7, Community. That's going to be a little bit of a step up about a couple that not only moves into a house, but moves into a very cultish HOA. And this episode is pretty interesting and I think pretty good. And as I said before, you can watch all these on YouTube through the YouTube movies.
Fine, she's housebroken. I'm joking. Well, I gotta go. I'm in charge of our subdivision's residence committee, so I'm gonna hit you up to volunteer soon. Please do that. Great, okay. Bye. Wait at the nice lady.
Bye, she's beautiful. Bye.